What's up, summoners? Kingblade here. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most recent additions to my roster, who's going to be none other than Infernal Kawazu, and I'm going to be showcasing him as well as talking about the build and why I like to use him, primarily because he's so good into Ran as well as into Belian that I really like what he's actually capable of doing and just able to one-shot and do all these amazing things. So if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and Discord server, link down in the description. The way that this video will break down is first I'll go over the build, the artifact, why I build him a certain type of way, what he does, and then we'll actually go into the RTA showcases and the Guild War showcases. You can actually see him in use and decide if you want to build them or just watch for fun, you know, and I'll break it down for you guys and all that good stuff. And of course, as always, I will put sections if you just want to skip and watch the showcases. You don't really care, you already saw the build, you're like, okay, show me the showcases. But with that, let's get right into it, starting with explaining how he works and the build I gave him. So to understand why I build him this way, you have to see how he works. The main way he's going to be doing damage is through the burns. I gave him Mulagora to have the highest chance to land the burns, and for the S3, the S2 doesn't really need any Mulagora, but it is nice if you don't want him getting one shot against Belians, or getting a lot of damage against Belians. He can actually heal quite decently. But the main way he functions is if the opponent has a AoE skill that they have to use, they will be giving you a cleanse on yourself as well as a 20% CR push, right? Which is going to be 5% higher than Cesaria's CR push, which does allow you to cut into a cleave and take out a target in that cleave. Most of the cases, usually Samurai Seria, which is really nice. The other part is that you also get a buff that gives you more attack, and since you're doing damage off of burns, your burns will do more damage, and you're able to, honestly, this skill does like 18 to 20k on my ML Kawazu without attack buff. It's super strong. Super good damage. It guaranteed to land when you have the vigor buff, right? So you're just doing a true 18 to 20k damage off of your burn damage, which is super duper nice. So really good combination whenever you can get that passive to trigger. So that kind of goes over to the build. Since his damage is based on burns, you can give him all full attack. He doesn't need crit rate or crit damage. Effectiveness he doesn't need because, as we mentioned, his buff gives him ignore FRES. And of course, the big one is going to be the speed. This is the most important one. You don't have to make him as tanky as mine if you're only using him to cut in. If anything, you want to get him closer to 230 to 40 speed. Mine tends to work for the most part, but there are situations where if I'm trying to go against a Belian, it'd be better to go slower. But if I'm really trying to get a consistent cut into a Samurai Seria Ran or even a Cerise Samurai Seria, higher speed would actually be better than more bulk in the situation. So if you're using him strictly just for anti-Samurai Seria and Cerise and Ran, 230, 240 speed is better to make sure that you're able to reliably cut the Samurai Serias and actually land your big burn damage pop, right? So again, builds vary, and it also will vary for where you are. Some Samurai Serias are, for where I play, are around 220. Although higher up in Guild Wars, we're currently like the top 50. Once you get closer to top 20, it really starts becoming something that 230, 240 speed is really needed. But lower down than that, it's usually going to be 220 does more than just enough. But that's overall the build. As far as the coin, why I gave him coin, you just get the biggest speed increase and attack stat gain when you do use your S2. It's just too much value, especially because of the 15% attack boost. It's way too much attack that you are getting for not even doing anything, right? So that big attack boost really does help to be able to one-shot more reliably, and the speed also lets him cycle, which is why I gave him tanky, because there are times that he'll actually stick on the board, especially if you're using him for anti-Belian. Against anti-Belian, you can actually make him slower with higher damage. Since Belian will be the one that will trigger him, you want to make him slower and then just come in and one-shot something, right? You can make him like maybe 5.5k but only 175 speed, so that way when Belian does the S3, that's when you get your boost, and that's where you get your one-shot. And they're forced to do it with Belian, which makes him really good. So that's going to be what he does. Very good anti-AoE unit, and a lot of cuts, especially when you pair him with things like Pleiades and General Purgus to supplement if you don't have him as fast as speed. So let's, instead of me talking about it, let's showcase him in Guild Wars and RTA. Alright, so for this first fight, we do see that we have a Ran cleave, which again I'm going to be trying to cut into this cleave. To do this, I did put a lot of different units: Rimuru to try to pressure, Sage Ball, General Purgus, T-Corset, and Infernal Kawazu. And my main goal is going to be to try to cut into this team. So we do have to ban the Pleiades so that we're able to get the most CR push as possible. So you see here, he starts with this Ran, but he gets this S3, which does allow me to get that extra Rimuru S2, which will allow me to kill the Ida and actually get a really good cut. He goes in for the S3 here. He gets the C-down push, but because we have General Purgus, we get a massive General Purgus boost, and we get our Infernal Kawazu push. You see here, the Infernal Kawazu will be the one that pushes up right here, already in front of the Ida. We also have the Rimuru. Really good combination to really pressure these types of cleaves. And it just sets up a situation where now I'm going ahead of him the whole time, right? So there is no way that he's able to come in and try to cut this. We have the Rimuru kill the first target, and then we have the Inferno Kawazu kill the second target. Again, cutting into the cleave, stopping the CDOM, coming in the rank cleave, and just completely obliterating the opponent. Really, really nice. Really, really solid combo. Again, with General Purgus, Rimuru, it does supplement. If he hadn't picked Polides, I could have picked my own Polides and also have stopped his CR gain, which again would have allowed us to get it better. So that is going to be the first match, and let's go to the next one. Alright, so for this next match, we will actually have him going against a Belian, so you guys can see kind of how he works and functions against Belian. So here, of course, it's more of a bruiser type match, so this match will be a lot slower. The big thing is we want to pressure the A-Ravi and the Belian by having our Inferno Kawazu there. My Inferno Kawazu is not particularly built perfectly for just countering Belian, and this will show because the Belian is actually going to go after my Inferno Kawazu, which will mean that he will be able to provoke us, right? So, of course, if we had a slower one, as you see in the bar, if we had a slower Inferno Kawazu that was able to cut in right before, that would have functioned much, much better. But you also see how good it is into this type of situation in a bruiser match against this team. So of course we do open with our fast Violet. We are able to get the initial outspeed. That's just my spicy Violet build. We do see him going early for Inferno Kawazu because he knows that it's a really good chance to burn. We do end up just going for a S3, I believe here, or we go for the S3 regardless because we just want to get the damage. We don't get the guaranteed, so it's a little bit riskier if we don't land it or if we miss, but we do get the hit, we do get the double burn, and that will actually execute the target. The nice part now is that we are going to be coming here and cleansing off the Belian and proccing our border coin, but at this point it's pretty much over. We got the one shots, we got the strips, we got the setups, but you'll see Inferno Kawazu just go crazy in this situation, just going over and over again, just cycling and getting a lot more speed. So we go S3 here, since we do want to try to get the barrier, try to get ways to get through, but he does end up proccing the Elra Sword off of the one hit, so we're going to be losing that very quickly. But it's not too big of a deal. We do try to do the S3 here with our slow Crimson Armin to mitigate a lot of the damage coming from that A-Ravi. Again, leaving more time for an Inferno Kawazu to get his cycling and try to get back to his S3 to be able to one-shot the A-Ravi later on. We do land the double burn, which is why I'm Molakora that is one to land the extra burns, and it will do a pretty good amount of damage. 4,000, really, really solid. Again, my Rylet did do more, but that's because it's Rylet. But again, we do see that he does get a nice little dual attack. But it's not going to be enough at this point. We do go for the A-Ravi. We don't want to let him any opportunity to try to keep going on our Inferno Kawazu. We want to keep him locked down. We don't want him to do anything. We do get the counterattack with Crimson Armin, locking him down even further. And at this point, we get another S1, more burns, more damage, more pain. And you see that I stopped going for the Belian here because I don't actually want her dying just quite yet, since we can't actually re-get our Inferno Kawazu's passive, right? So you'll see me actually not going on her anymore. And we do see the A-Ravi starting to hit a lot more, starting to go hard. She does end up dying, so we don't get the passive off. But at this point, it doesn't really matter. Our Inferno Kawazu already did his job at S3ing, at getting the damage up. And it's just really, really nice. And right here, we do still just go for the S3. We would have been nice to get the passives. But again, at this late in the game, 16k damage. It's a lot of damage. You see me emoting. It's someone I know, so I actually know the player that we're going against. It's someone from Abandon that it's in the Discord, so it's a good time that we got to do this in the preseason. But yeah, we end up winning that fight, and we get to keep going with Inferno Kawazu just winning. For this match, I want to show that it's not all sunshines and rainbows. I won't show the full match because it's clearly going to be a loss for me. But I'm going to show you guys what can actually go wrong if Inferno Kawazu gets interrupted. So again, against Belian, you want him to be slower to go after the Belian. Here we get extremely unlucky and the Belian procs before. This means that he's going to be able to lock our Inferno Kawazu down, and I will not be able to kill off his team. That is extremely, extremely important because as you see here, we already triggered the S2. Even though the only one that could have triggered it was the Belian, because of the Elra Sword, it made it so he can now provoke us. That is a terrible situation to be in for Inferno Kawazu, because if you're not getting your S3 off, you are absolutely useless, right? And that's something that will show with this match. Again, very, very tragic speed tuning as well. Just not so great all around. The El Restore definitely not being good because it triggered early, which is why typically against Belian, you do want a slower Inferno Kawazu, right? If we were a slower Inferno Kawazu, we would have been chilling, right? We would have been easily been able to interrupt here and be able to properly counterattack and one-shot a unit. But as you see here, we are never going to be able to move the rest of this game. And because of that, we will not have the damage necessary to finish off our enemy. He does get the Elver Sword again, gets the procs, and here, it's just, at this point, it's not looking too great for us. We are locked down with our Inferno Kawazu. He's not going to be able to cycle fast enough. We do go for the S3. Oh no, we just go for an S1 because we don't want to proc more Elrises. But again, doesn't matter. Yelgas knows Belian. If Belian high procs, she high procs. There's not a lot you can do in that situation. Again, another dual attack, more damage. What are you going to do, right? Sometimes when Belian wants you lose the game, right? And he does even resist the S1, gets another dual attack. It wasn't my game to win. Just nothing went in our favor. And on top of all that, we do get the provoke here. And we may have gotten a chance to actually do the Inferno Kawazu as the damage. We try to play it safe by doing an S1 so that our Inferno Kawazu doesn't die this rotation. But RNG had different idea. So he does get the S2 proc. He gets the dual attack. And it's GG. So I'm going to stop right here because we already know I lost here. But again, that shows that if you don't time it properly and if you don't know how to use him properly, it can be really bad. And it shows that against Belian, you do want him to actually be slower. So you can actually see what he's able of doing. Alright, so for this Guild War, I'll be showing you guys Inferno Kawazu against the Cerise Samurai Seria team that you see there. So typically, he does better against Ran, just because that way you're actually able to put more things like Rimuru, but in the situation, you see why it's so important to actually make your Inferno Kawazu faster. As you see right here, that Samurai Seria is sporting a nice 240 speed, and it will actually almost cost us the game, the fact that we're not there. This is a big showcase on the importance of Inferno Kawazu having a good speed tuning. Since right here, you see he will actually be able to set up with his Samurai Seria. We will not be able to do our nice little S3, and he's also on top of all that going to be attack breaking us. This will mean that we're not going to be able to get rid of the Cerise early on, to be able to just deal with the Violet more reliably, and this puts us in a really bad situation, right? Just because now it's a much scarier game. You do see me considering S2ing here to take off that attack break so that we're able to actually land more damage, and I do end up doing it, which again we would not have to have done if we had proper speed tuning. We see him landing the bombs, very good at Samurai Seria, landing a lot of different things. We do know that the biggest threat on his board is going to be this Cerise, and we know we have to get rid of her as soon as possible. So we one-shot her so he can't get the dual attacks with the Violet and the Samurai Seria. And at this point, the biggest problem here is that our Ruel is going to be getting locked down. I should have most likely used this S3 right here on the Crow, but because of my errors, that is not going to be a good thing. I go for the S1 thinking that it's enough, and it's not enough. He will come here, pop the bombs, do a bunch of damage to our Crawl, and again, putting a really not so great situation for our team because he will be able to execute the Crawl later on. So we get rid of the Samurai Seria, and the Crawl goes before the Violet, which is the worst case scenario. We know we're gonna lose them, so we go for the horse. Even though it wasn't kill, it will set us up hopefully for success. And of course, no defense buff anymore. We're not in a great shape, not doing too hot, right? We could have potentially S3 with Ruel, right? We still have the chance to S3 with Ruel and come back with the Crawl, and then we would have been fine. But our Inferno Kawazu does actually end up landing. So as far as this match goes, it was not a clean match. Mainly because I did not outspeed the Samurai Seria to be able to kill the Cerise in time, and we were stunned. That's the importance of actually having a very good fast Inferno Kawazu, because if you don't, that could get a lot scarier. We probably could have supplemented that with something like a Polides to try to stop the Samurai Seria from taking her turn, and Polides might have actually been better than Ruel in this scenario, because with Polides, not only are we cutting the CR gain that the Samurai Seria gets, but we're also able to actually kill the Samurai Seria and then have the Inferno Kawazu finish off the Cerise. So that's a mistake on our part there for trying to play it too safe rather than just going for the option that was probably the better option. That was just to change the Ruel for a Polides, execute the team, and then have the Craw finish off the Violet with the horse. But again, learning times, and it's good to learn off of my mistakes. So that is all I have for you guys today. Hopefully this gives you a good idea on what Inferno Kawazu can do and why I actually have been liking him a lot and why I put such good gear on him. If you have one, he's definitely worth considering building, especially if you're struggling against Rand type cleave compositions. As you saw, when you supplement him with Polides, when you supplement him with General Purgus, he can very easily make it a lot harder for the opponent to come in and cut, as well as having a really good potential to stop Belian if he changed his build up just a little bit. So again, really solid unit, great one-shotter, puts a lot of pressure on AoE units and forces the opponent to play a certain type of way around him. And as you learn more with him, you'll definitely be able to use him more. But that's all I got for you guys today, and I will see you next time. Peace.